Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel, Crystal's Literary Lounge. I'm Crystal, and today I wanted to talk about the Arcana Chronicles by Kresley Cole. The final book in the series, From the Grave, is scheduled to be released on April 18th, and it's been 5 years since the release of the previous book, so I thought it would be a good idea to read the series again and get caught up. This video will contain spoilers, but for anyone that hasn't read the series, I'll give a brief review. So the series follows Evie, a young girl trying to survive an apocalypse. Evie discovers that tarot cards are real and she is the Empress card. The goal of the game is to destroy the other cards and take their icons, because only one can live and obtain the prize of immortality. The series is wonderfully written, and I highly recommend purchasing book 1, which is Poison Princess, which at the moment is free to celebrate the release of the final book in the series. I'll try to find that link from Kresley's page, and I'll leave it below. So, spoiler alert from this moment on. If you haven't already, go ahead, give me a thumbs up, and subscribe. Now, let's take a deep dive into the Arcana Chronicles. So I wanted to start off with what we know about the game itself. So Isis is a goddess, and she created a contest. And she invited gods of different realms to choose a mortal to represent them in an arena. And the representative had to be younger than 25, and this arena is tarot. The object of the game was to take out or trump other players. When this happens, a player basically harvested the god's icons from the opposing player, and it will then get displayed on their own hand. The gods all wanted to win, of course, so they all cheated and gave their representative some of their own powers. The game was so popular amongst the gods that they continue to play it, and it's still being played, even though the gods have basically disappeared. There are 22 major arcana cards, and these are the players that are trying to win. And then you have 56 minor arcana, and this comes from basically different suits. So you have the wands, swords, cups, and pentacles. The minor cards, they're not supposed to engage with the major cards in battle and vice versa, but each suit backs a major card to win, and they can interfere in the game to help move it along. In the book The Dark Calling, the suit of cups is revealed, and the Queen of Cups has the power to see the past and the future, and the Queen tells Evie that the minor arcana are banding together, which we'll circle back to this here later. So now that we've discussed the game and the objects, let's take a look at the players. So we've got the Fool or Gamekeeper, which is Matthew. The Magician, who is the Master of Illusion, and that's Phineas. The Priestess or Ruler of the Deep, which is Circe. The Empress of Our Lady of Thorns, which is Poison Princess, which is Evie. The Emperor or Stone Overlord, Richter. The Hierophant, he of dark rites, is Guthrie. The Lovers, Duke and Duchess most perverse, is Vincent and Violet. The Centurion is wicked champion Kintart. And Strength / Mistress Stephana is Lark. The Hermit card, Master of Alchemy, is Arthur. Fortune or Lady of Chance is Zara. The Fury, she who harrows, is Spite. The Hanged Man, our Lord Uncanny, ended up being Paul. Death Endless Night is Eric. Temperance, Collectress of Sins, Calanth. The Devil, Foul Desecrator, Ogun. The Tower, Lord of Lightning, is Jules. The Star and the Arcane Navigator is Stellan. The Moon, Bringer of Doubt, Selena. The Sun, Glorious Illuminator, is Sol. Judgment, the Archangel, is Gabriel. And the World, this unearthly one, is Tess. So I'm only really going to discuss and go into detail on a few. I want to look at Matthew to start off. So the Fool is the gamekeeper. His call sign is crazy like a fox. So he sees the future. He's got astral projection, telepathy. He can manipulate dreams and plant dreams. He can hear and see all except for his own future or death. And he is born with this genetic memory of all games. He can control the game and the outcome because of how far he sees. Now, he has won a game before, of course, by betraying and killing the Empress card. And as this series progresses, Matthew seems to become more ruthless. When he saves Jack, even Jack begins to get wary of him. And it was as if there were two different Matthews. So his tableau is a man who's smiling and carrying a white rose as a dog nips at his heels, and he is skipping off towards a cliff. So in day 0, most of Matthew's information, he blacked out lines, except for just a few choice words. I did find the following words very interesting. A fox is as it seems. Foes follows that. The memory of a flower. I'll give my only friend another. So to me, that sounded like Matthew may have somehow manipulated Evie and Jack to be together. But at the beginning of the series, he didn't like Jack, and he kept saying, not Arcana. He hurts when he helps. But Jack eventually becomes known as the Hunter, and Matthew slowly begins to like Jack as the series progresses. I'm going to be honest, I don't trust Matthew. I feel like he has this Machiavellian way of thinking, where it's the end is justified by the means. What I do find interesting is that Evie, Matthew, and Death all have a white rose on their cards. And Jack also has a white rose on his rosary. I smell a connection here. So Jack, he's not listed as a player of the Arcana, but he is known as the Hunter, and he keeps surviving against all odds. He's got these uncanny reflexes and supernatural seems hunting abilities. And so now I want to take a look at the beginning of the series. So, Evie in Poison Princess, she's this rich girl, lives on a sugar plantation in Louisiana. She gets sent to a mental institution. It's a rehabilitation center because she had a mental breakdown at the end of her sophomore year is what her mom thought. And it was because she was seeing these horrible visions. And she's an artist, so she had to draw and paint what she was seeing in her head. Her mom finds her artwork, sends her away. And then we discover that her grandmother at some point kidnapped her briefly and was teaching her about the Arcana cards. And they thought her grandmother had programmed her to hurt other kids. So she was basically made to forget all of those teachings during this rehabilitation sessions. And Jack, well, he's a boy from the basin. He's from the bayou. He was abused by his mom's string of lovers, and his mom was an alcoholic, and she herself was abused. Just a horrible, horrible situation. So this apocalypse happens. It's a sudden flash, major solar flare from the sun that lasts for an entire night. All surface water flash evaporates, and those that were hidden in basements or concealed in some way, only those people survived. Those that got caught outside were turned to ash, and some were turned into these zombie-like creatures called bagmen. And bagmen feed on blood and water. So the water on the surface does not exist. It's in wells, and it's down deep, deep into the ocean. So there's this drought, and there's lots of dust. The survivors are having to contend with no water, no food. There's no crops. There's no animals that they can find. There's a shortage of women. There's slavers everywhere. There's evil militia people. There's cannibalism, and there's bagmen. So it is literally survival of the fittest. The apocalypse shows that Evie's visions were true, and her grandmother's teachings were true. And Evie discovers, of course, she's the Empress card. And so Jack, he finds Evie, and they begin to travel together, and they meet up with other Arcana along the way. Now, as the series progresses, Evie starts to remember her grandmother's teachings. She's absolutely against this game. She doesn't want to hurt people. She's like, no, I'm going to stop the game. Evie and Jack, of course, end up in a relationship. They end up consummating their relationship, and Death becomes furious. And we find out that Death is Eric, and that Eric was Evie's husband in a previous game. Because all of these players keep getting reincarnated to play this game over and over and over again. So, Death card, or Eric, he can't touch anybody. Like, his skin is literally like death to people, except for Evie. She's the only person that he can touch. And so, over time, their relationship starts off horrible, because he blames her for all of her past lives and all of her indiscretions in the previous games. But then he starts to fall for her, and she starts to fall for him. So Evie ends up loving two men. And both of these men, they love her. They've also wronged her in their own different ways. She, in turn, has wronged both of these men in her own ways and different points. And then she gets pregnant by Eric. And now, in this final book, she has the ultimate final decision to make. So she has chosen Jack before, but she's also chosen Eric before. I now want to look at the list of players again, and I just want to see who is gone and who is left. So, Evie has taken out the following cards. She took out the Alchemist, she took out the Hierophant, she took out the Lovers, she took out the Hangman, and she took out the entire Suit of Cups. So Death, he took out the Star, and he took out Temperance, and he took out the Devil cards. And then the World card accidentally killed herself because she was trying to go back in time and save Selena. And she was trying to save Jack because she thought that he had died too. Now, She Who Harrows, Spite, I'm not sure who killed her. I don't think we ever really know who got her icon. And then the Moon, of course, was taken out by Richter. And then the Magician was taken out by the Hangman, which was Paul. So half the cards are gone. When we're looking at who is left and how things are going to end, I'm not really sure. Like, the way things stand now at the end of Dark Calling, I'm very nervous, everybody. Like, it is making me worry. I'm not sure who Evie's going to choose. Now, when I first read this series, I was Team Eric 100% all the way. Rereading this series, I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'm Team Jack. Either way, I'm going to be a little heartbroken. I have this feeling that Death might end up sacrificing himself for Evie. I'm not sure how they're going to bring down Richter. But as we all know, Richter cannot win this. Absolutely not. I do think that there are going to be some tears shed. There's so many players, and yet only one of them is supposed to survive and last. And I can kind of see Evie being the last person standing. And not only that, but it would be her and Jack raising that baby until all the other cards get reincarnated. Unless, of course, they can stop the game. And maybe they will be able to. But I just have this feeling that that's how it's going to end. So let me know in the comments your theories and your thoughts and what you think is going to happen. And if you're on Team Jack or Team Eric. I'll see you in the next video.